Welcome into Extra Time. I did say it was just Craig and Shaka on the show, but unlike Messi, Sid Lowe has decided to stick around a little longer, so he will be joining us for this edition. But the first question is for Craig and Shaka.
I performed an embarrassing U-turn. It's an embarrassing U-turn. I've changed my mind and backed down pathetically, having insisted I was out, and sent a bureau fax to say there's no way I'm going on Extra Time. But look, here I am, spineless.
Well, thanks for sticking around, Sid. I would put this question to Shaka, but I think I already know the answer, so it's going to go to you, Craig. It's from Dan, and he said, do you prefer to play on a team that played short passes and built out of the back, or a team that kicked the ball up the field every chance they got?
Well, I prefer to play on a team that wins, but, yeah, I mean, football has evolved. The game has evolved in terms of the way, and Shaq will know this, the way the goalkeeper starts off moves, the way the centre-halves position themselves. Not that it was bash it up the field and chase it in the 90s and early 2000s. It wasn't, but it was a lot more balanced, and there wasn't as much risk-taking in and around your own penalty area. So that's not something we were accustomed to working on. But no, I was never fond of a team that was just hoofing it up the field and then trying to win the second balls. But we did that on occasions as well during some games. But yeah, I think every player would prefer to get the ball on the ground and play some short passes. I think that's why we play the game to start with.
Shaka,
what do you think? What do you think my answer would be, Kay? Let me ask that. Let me
Shaka,
ask you that.
Yesterday on the show, you said you never touched the ball more than twice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
that doesn't answer my question.
So I think you're going to hoof it up the pitch.
That's wrong. You see, you're wrong. I'd prefer to play on a side that pass the ball out the back. Now, admittedly, I'd be no good in that side because I was hoofing it. But I'd prefer to play on a side that played the kind of football that Craig just spoke about.
Okay.
Listen, Kay, he would look at you in the game to touch the ball twice with his hands. Never mind his feet.
And those two times when he was picking it up out of the back of the net anyway.
No, he used to get it out of the back of the net.
Surely,
Go on, Sid.
Surely Shaka would have liked to have played. What did you call it? Oh, every school had different names for it. But I'm assuming that Shaka would have liked to play rush goalie, so you could go bombing up the pitch and leave someone else in nets for a bit. Did you call that rush goalie at your school? It depends which school you're at, I suppose. Everyone had different names for it.
I didn't call it. I can't remember what we call it. But that was me. I used to be out on the pitch all the time. I'm a frustrated striker, really.
But there you go.
Of course you are. Shaka, Arps wants to know, do you expect Thiago to settle down straight away in Klopp's system after completing the move to Liverpool?
Yes. I think Thiago is an incredible talent. I really do. And he's so different from everything that Liverpool has. I see no real issue, despite the differences between what Klopp does and Bayern have done for years since his arrival under Pep Guardiola. I think Thiago fits in very easily to any team that plays that kind of football.
Sid, actually, I'd like to get a follow-up from you on that one. Do you think Thiago will slot straight into that Liverpool side?
Yeah, I think in a way Shaq's hit the nail on the head in that I think it's true that Thiago is on the face of it a very different style to Liverpool's midfield. And I interviewed Thiago in the build-up to it must have been the 2018 World Cup, so a couple of years ago, and we were talking about styles, and he was talking about how Spain obviously have this identity of keeping the ball down, of short passing, very technical, very positional. And we were talking a little bit about England and whether England actually lacked that kind of midfielder. And his response was a response about Liverpool. He said, well, you could say that, but look at Liverpool's midfield. He said, look at the way they play. Look how much of the midfield they eat up, how dynamic they are, how aggressive they are. And although it's a totally different style to him, he was hugely impressed by this, hugely impressed by the way in which they could develop a style that worked for them, even with different types of players. Now, and the reason why I say that I think part of Shaq's answer is the answer, is that it's true that Thiago offers something different, but I think that's a good thing. So you can have someone who can fit in and adapt to a slightly different midfield shape and a slightly different style, but can also give you the kind of things, the quality of touch, the pass filtered through small gaps, the ability to maybe produce only one really telling pass a game, but enough to put someone clean through one-on-one, or enough to create a really clear chance. And I think it's precisely Thiago's differentness, precisely the fact that it looks like he sort of might not fit on the face of it, that makes him so interesting, because I think he gives that Liverpool that little bit of a twist and that little bit extra, not least because I suspect that this season Liverpool will find teams playing against him in a very different and more defensive way.
Craig and Shaka, Frank McManaman says, in your playing careers, did you take pre-season matches seriously, or were they just a way to get your legs moving again? Craig.
Well, I mean, you take them serious in terms of you use pre-season matches for one reason and one reason only. It is to gain your match fitness for the start of your domestic season. Now, if you can play well and win along the way, then fine. But first and foremost in pre-season is the one thing you want to avoid coming back from pre-season is injuries, because unfit players and muscle injuries happen more often. And the second thing is you're chasing your fitness and your confidence. And also, you may, like Barcelona, we've talked about a lot in the last 24, 48 hours, they have a new coach in Ronald Koeman. So you're now looking at a change of shape to the team potentially, some new teammates coming in. So you're using all these things to build up to the start of the season. And I always say, and I don't think, and I suspect it's different from a goalkeeper's perspective, but even when the English Premier League season started, for example, I was never up to full fitness, and I don't think any player was, because you can't mirror a pre-season game, Kay, with a competitive Premier League or domestic game in any country that you're playing in. And once those games start, they're so fast and so different to pre-season that it takes you 3, 4, 5, maybe even half a dozen games of your domestic season to really catch your fitness. And so to cut up this waffling long story short, you're mainly using them to get your fitness.
Shaka, was it the same for you?
Yeah, it was. I felt, regardless of pre-season, it would take 6 games for me to really get my timing right, my match fitness right. But to Frank McManaman's question, it depends on the game, when it fell in pre-season, and also, when I joined that club. So I say that because when you first join a club, you take every preseason game seriously, because this is your opportunity to make an impression on your fans, to establish yourself in that team. If you're already established in the team, the first game or two, you're just trying to get the rust out of your legs, as Frank puts it. The next 2 or 3 games, I would use to work on aspects of my game that I felt I needed to. Whether I wanted to come for crosses, so I'd take this game just to come for every single cross, regardless, or whether I was stroking the ball very beautifully out of the back, as I often did. And then as you came closer to the start of the season, now you're trying to put all those parts back together, and you're taking the game a little bit more seriously. So it varied from game to game.
Manuel, Shaka, Neuer. Come back in.
Kay, just quickly, Kay, can I backtrack a little bit to the Thiago? Just briefly, won't go on. We don't have to put that tweet back up. I know that's too difficult for some people.
That was 6 tweets ago.
But let me just say,
Okay.
That was 6 tweets ago.
I think Thiago is a wonderful player, right? Clearly, huge fan. But I don't think it's as simple as some people think, just to walk into this Liverpool midfield. I really don't. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, there's a midfield that operated damn well last year. Now, as Sid mentioned, he does bring so many different facets. I get that. But so does Gini Wijnaldum. So does Jordan Henderson, the Football Writers Player of the Year. Now, Jordan Henderson does not have the talent of Thiago, but he brings so many other facets to the game. He's got leadership, he's got defensive qualities, and he has the energy. And then you have the likes of Fabinho. So whilst Thiago is a marvellous addition for Liverpool, absolutely great signing, I don't think it's going to be that simple for him on a weekly basis just to walk in this team. And as good as he is, I mean that in all sincerity.
Yeah, Stevie Nichols actually said the same, Craig. I'm going to go to you next. It's comeback.
All right, can I change then?
I want to go the other way. That might change your mind. I thought you might want to backtrack on that one now too.
No, I do. I just think, I seriously think that of course he's going to play, but maybe this is wrong. I don't know, but I think it's easier to get in the Bayern Munich midfield at the moment, even as successful as they were potentially, than to get in the Liverpool midfield.
So the person you were making fun of for not bringing the tweet up, they're also going to clip you saying that, and we'll remind you of it later in the season, Craig. Go on,
well, I knew the tweet wasn't going to come back up because nobody's sharp enough there.
Let me just throw something into that mix now that we've gone back to Thiago, which is that I fear, that's not the right word. I suspect that what happened this year is that it won't be a case of getting in that midfield and being a starter. I think we'll see a midfield of 5, maybe 6 men who will all play a lot of games this year. I don't think it will be a case of looking at the midfield and go, right, Fabinho, Wijnaldum, Henderson, whose place does he take? I don't think it'll be that. I think it'll be, well, some weeks he'll play where Henderson plays. Other weeks he'll play where Wijnaldum plays. Some weeks he'll play as the deep midfielder, which we've seen him adapt to at Bayern Munich, which was never really his position. But he's played really well as the deepest of the three. You know, some weeks you'll see Oxlade-Chamberlain play in there. You'll get games for Keita as well. I think you're basically probably looking at a midfield 5 rotating through 3 positions rather than a case of, right, who's in? Because I think who's in will be probably have a different answer every game.
So come back.
Good point said. Good point said. And you don't make many. Someday mark this down, the time and the date.
Comeback King 36 is now Comeback King 78 waiting to get this question answered. Craig, it seems that winning...
this is a good question then. It's been waiting long enough.
It seems that winning is not enough in modern football.
He's got even less chance of making a comeback because the time's run out on him.
Now it's Comeback King 84. It seems that winning is not enough in modern football. Fans expect an attractive style of play. Was this the case when you were a professional?
Yeah, it was. And they expected to be entertained. But they also, I don't know how to put this. The balance was different in the late 90s and early 2000s when I was playing, Shaq was playing. The balance of what was accepted and what wasn't, I think was different. I think now, because of TV and because of finances that clubs are able to spend and because of the cost of a supporter going to the game with his family or his partner or whatever, I think fans are more demanding. And, you know, I think they expect to be entertained. And when they see other teams with budgets that are not a Man United or a PSG or a Man City or a Barcelona, when they see a Leicester City do what they did in 2016, and we see these other teams playing football, I think fans are more demanding if they go along and see their team hoof it up the park for 90 minutes. I don't think there's too many clubs find that acceptable anymore. There was a few did it back in the day, but there was more a balanced approach back when I was playing. It was a little bit of a hybrid model. Now I would call it the sort of crazy nuts model where they're absolutely passing the ball out to somebody 6 yards outside their own goal with somebody pressing them. That just never happened. That was suicidal back a few years ago.
I don't think there's any fan base more synonymous with wanting their team to see and expect attractive football, Sid, than the Barcelona fan base.
Yeah, well, and of course this has been part of the if you like, the background noise over the last 4 or 5 years. It wasn't just that Barcelona had those incredibly embarrassing Champions League nights in Rome and Anfield and now, of course, in Lisbon, but even in Paris, even in Turin. It was more that there was this debate about the way they were playing. And of course, you know, you look at the way that some fans were unhappy with Ernesto Valverde because it was partly rooted in a perceived sense of a loss of identity. Now, obviously, you can ask all sorts of questions about whether you can still maintain that identity without Xavi, without Iniesta, with an ageing team, with the kind of players they've got. And I think Valverde was the master of the possible, if you like. But of course, a club that has a very strong kind of puritanical streak running through it, that you're absolutely right. There is no club, I don't think, that has that degree of, if you like, kind of self-obsession about it's not just winning, it's about how you win.
I'm going to stick with you.
The last time I heard somebody use that word was Stevie Nicol said. Puritanical.
Which word was that? Oh, Stevie Nicol, a Puritan. Yeah, we all know Stevie's monk-like in his Puritanism.
It rolled off his tongue.
Has he been eating a dictionary for breakfast, Craig?
Along with the shepherd's pie.
Sid, Abhiraj Verma says, why have Spanish teams like Real Madrid, Atletico and Barcelona been so quiet in the transfer market? None of them have made a single signing this season.
Right, well, first things first. What's the date today? We're at the back end of August, aren't we?
We are.
I think we've got till the so we've got till the I think it's the second week of October before this market is closed. So first of all, calm down. Don't worry, they could still be coming. But actually, in truth, there is a much more simple answer, which is and I think they will continue to be quiet between now and then, except possibly Barcelona, of course, depending on what happens with Messi and how they try and find a way around that. And the answer is finance, economics. Those three clubs were hit incredibly hard by the coronavirus crisis, not least because they were largely on edge anyway. The financial ability to generate money right across the board, not just at the top in Spain, is much less than the Premier League, for example. So that means there's much less kind of movement going on around the clubs, much less of the sort of, if you like, the middling tier clubs buying players. And so that's the short answer. There isn't really the money to make it happen.
Shaka, Ian Gregoire says, does Arsenal have the most delusional fan base in the Premier League? And will they finish in the top 4 next season?
The second part of that question is easier to answer. No, I don't see Arsenal finishing in the top 4. Not given what everybody else continues to do. Listen, I appreciate what Arteta's doing, but I that's not where my money is going. All fans are delusional in terms of the first part of the question. Every fan right about this point of the season are thinking either their club is going to win the league or finish in the top 4. And that is almost across the board. So that goes with party territory.
Craig, can you answer the first part of the question in whether Arsenal fans are the most delusional fan base in the Premier League?
Well, I'm not going to besmirch Arsenal fans because I'm very much a people person these days. And,
you've changed.
And so I'm not going to sit here like Shaka and cast aspersions on a very generically on a whole fan base. I just want to be loved by fans. That's the new motto for me going forward. Love me, please.
Craig has had time to reflect during lockdown. He's been doing yoga and meditation, and he just wants to be loved. I knew it was coming, guys. James Poole says, rumour has it Messi has been house hunting in Redcar. Hashtag Messi to Borough. Hashtag up the Borough. Shaka, you must know about the delights of the nightlife in Redcar down on the seafront.
I do not know the delights of nightlife at Middlesbrough. We have discussed this. I have never been out in Middlesbrough. Never been to Tall Trees.
Redcar?
I don't know where that is.
You know what? He's the right size for Redcar because a rumour has it he's been spotted coming out the traps on the 91 favourite.
Sid, have you ever partied in the Northeast? Shaka denies that he ever has.
In the Northeast, I've never been to Middlesbrough. I've never been to Hull. I've never been to Sunderland. I've been to Newcastle, but I don't think I've ever been out for a night out in Newcastle. So I'm afraid the answer is no. I mean, I've got to come quite a long way. You've got to get me down to Sheffield before I can start talking about places to go out.
All right, fair enough. So that's both Shaka and Sid who haven't been out in the Northeast. Craig, I never actually did ask you. Please tell me that you have.
Yes.
Okay.
Name a country. Name a place on the planet.
International party man Craig Burley has partied everywhere.
Galapagos Islands, been there. Other night out, there's a bar just up the corner on the left-hand side.
Do you think would Lionel Messi enjoy a Parmo? That's the real question here.
It is the question.
Could Messi eat a Parmo?
It is the eternal question, Sid, and I don't know if we're ever going to find out the answer. It's
the only thing we need to know. The rest of this show can just be binned. We just need to discuss
What's a
whether or not Messi can
parmo?
eat a parmo.
I don't know.
That's what really
What's a parmo?
A parmo
Go on, Kay.
is a regional dish from Middlesbrough, which is an escallop of chicken or pork.
A regional dish.
It is. Listen, it's a delicacy
Yeah,
in
I
my
just love
hometown of
the idea of
Middlesbrough.
regional dish makes it sound a delicacy. That's it.
It
Makes
is.
It sound like a delicacy.
It's a delicacy. It's an escallop of chicken or pork. So you've got your breadcrumbs. On top of that, you have bechamel sauce, mozzarella, cheddar cheese, garlic sauce, greasy chips on the side. Voila. After a night out in the northeast, which only Craig knows about, nobody wants a kebab or a pizza. They want a parmo. And that will end
Listen,
extra time.
just briefly, if Messi does come to England, he's not made it, in my opinion, till he's sat in a curbside at 3 a.m. in the morning with a plastic fork eating fish chips and gravy sauce, right? Once he's done that, he can do what he likes.
Yeah, topped with a parmo. Topped with a parmo, and then we'll all be happy. Thanks so much for joining us on Extra Time. That will do it. I'm going to go and think about Messi eating a parmo.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week, subscribe to ESPN Plus.